So we get to this last extract before we have to deal with section 5, and it's dealing with the non-fiction. So it's dealing with representation, history, and memory, which is what non-fiction is really, really good at, because non-fiction teaches us to read for the truth, and it teaches us to spot bias, and it teaches us to understand how language is a manipulator as well as something that informs. And so you might say, oh, what's the difference between what is true and what is not true in this story? And you might look simply at it physically and say, oh, look, there's italic bits here, there's normal bits there, and that's what it's all about. Not really, okay? It sort of comes down to this paragraph here. I know I should check the facts. There is evidence to be weighed, archives to be searched, family members still alive who knew her differently. So you've got conflict in the language. You've got a conflict in the personal voice. I know what I should do. I know what I should do. I know I should check the facts. But when I check the facts, they don't line up with the story, and the story is much more evocative. These were stories of unfeeling trustees, money withheld, unsuitable marriages, when good-looking roads took advantage of well-to-do widows. So you see this word of unfeeling trustees, okay, unsuitable marriages, and good-looking rogues. You get the idea that there's more story going on here than fact, because unfeeling gives you an emotive response to who the trustees are. Unsuitable marriages and good-looking roads almost has a romantic ideal as to how women behaved once, or were forced to behave. So you've got something going on in the way the language works there. And this little story about how the great-grandmother lost all her money. Or so the story goes. Or so the story goes, ... We should also point out there that ellipse and make an idea that this, or so the story goes, means that there's more information I don't have and the story doesn't have it. So when you go down to the question, you sort of say, okay, what are the difficulties of discovering what is true and what is false? The difficulty, of course, is working out what is true with fact and what is true with fictionalized accounts. And so you've got to look at that. The listing of facts are true to a point, but if the trustees are unfeeling, the marriage is unsuitable, then the stories are going to have bias to them. So you might focus in on that word unfeeling, and then as it gets to the end of the paragraph, you focus on the ellipse, or so the story goes, there is more here than I even know. Okay? The historian at the back of my brain says I should discover what is true and what is false, make a properly considered account. The rest of me, the part that was shaped by the sense of myself at the centre of the universe at the bottom of the world, still sees, through a cloud formation above paddocks, shapes and shadows of other places she made my own. The problem is, if I were to investigate the history, I would be destroying the child who enjoyed the stories, and that would destroy some of the self. So the conflict is in the own historian, that if I go back and clarify my history, it might be actually in direct conflict with my memory, and I'm too scared to do that. The word for that is iconoclasm, or iconoclastic behaviour, where you tear down the past to research a new way of looking at the past. I want to leave her stories and leave her and her stories be. I would rather the past were buried than the truth come out, because she was the one who gave me the evocation of story and the love of story. And so really it comes down to those sort of little moments. Analyse how the text has the difficulties, and the text has the difficulties in the personal response of the writer, the difficulties in a historian's question of history and memory. And you'd focus in on that ellipse, you'd focus in on the language that she attributes to the storytelling itself, and the language she attributes to the characters in the story who aren't her grandmother, who are given negative, antagonistic languages. Okay? So, you've got that one done, and you get to E. Compare how two of the texts represent significance of curiosity in the process of discovering. Now, I'd look at that and I'd say significance of curiosity. And I would argue that the non-fiction extract is a problem, because curiosity is the very thing that she's actually against. And so you can talk about that in the negative light, but you're working hard. You're working a bit too hard there. You don't want to do that. You want to say, I need 5 marks. I need 5 marks quickly. I've got to get onto my story. I've got to get onto the discovery essay. So what do I do? In this one, I would personally, myself, choose the poem, and I may choose the image or the short story extract. I'd possibly choose this short story extract here. Okay, but the poem I'd definitely focus in on. The significance of curiosity is a big, big deal in that poem. So I would say to myself, okay, compare how two of the texts represent that. Maybe, actually, if I was to go back and I'm thinking out loud here, I'd say, okay, I haven't started writing yet, and that was my first reaction, but now I look at the question again and I go, compare. The poem and the non-fiction extract are polar opposites in terms of the process and curiosity in the process of discovery. The poem suggests that curiosity is a wonderful thing. Curiosity, a broad curiosity, will bring you down to finding your niche in life. Will bring you down to finding what it is that you want to do with everything. Whereas the other one, the non-fiction extract, suggests that curiosity is that literal kills the cat. It's a dangerous thing that once we discover or uncover too much of the past, we rattle too many bones. And so I'd probably actually, in second thought, do maybe the poem and the non-fiction extract. And it needs to be comparison. And so that it needs to engage with both texts in each body paragraph of what you're writing. That's key, because it's comparing. If you just do analyze one about it and then analyze the other, you're doing this conversely moreover kind of language, and the links get weaker and less sort of connected like this. So you need to sort of say, starting in many ways saying, the poem and the non-fiction extract highlight many differences in the significance of curiosity in the process of discovering. For the poem, the process of discovering is one of wonder, grandiose joy, and a discovery of life's quest, whereas the non-fiction extract reveals to us the fact that too much curiosity can be a dangerous thing, indeed, in our own personal past. Right? And then you start the body paragraph. So an analysis, and you might say an analysis of both texts, show us that curiosity creates an initial spark, but to pursue that curiosity to its end point will result in two very different outcomes. And we extend on that, okay? And making sure that you are pulling apart bits and pieces of the language in each. I would suggest there's at least a page and a half here, and you're making sure that you're getting that whole 1/3 of the response down pat. And I would do a few practice runs of actually how to write this particular one. I'd do a couple of big practices before the main exam on this question in many different versions of it that we have to offer. Thank you.